day 3. No, day 3 of the week 2 of month of letting go. So it's Wednesday, and we're going to talk about, yesterday we talked about, internal attachments. Today we're going to talk about external attachments, and internal attachments is more subtle, and I think we're less aware of it. But external attachments are like hit you in the face kind of things. So let's just dive into this. First thing that we can say is, okay, what are we attached externally? First thing that comes to my mind is material possessions, right? But think about what the material item, what it's doing for you emotionally, because that's why you're attached to it. You're not attached to it because it's a beach house. You're attached to it because of the way it makes you feel, right? Okay, beach house is not the greatest example because beach houses are cool. But whatever the case may be, let's say it's a car, because that's like the quintessential example, right? You own like a Ferrari or a Maserati or something. I don't know. I don't know cars. But what it's doing for you is, maybe it's an emotional security thing. Maybe it's status, achievement. It's looking good in other people's eyes more than it is the car. No, maybe you're just a car person and cars are just the awesomest things ever. But that's still an attachment to a material thing, and what happens if these things go away? It causes suffering if we're attached to them. So what happens if the car is damaged or lost or stolen? This is going to trigger anxiety. It's going to trigger anger or insecurity or whatever the case may be. When you attach yourself to a material object, material objects are not permanent. Nothing's really permanent, but they can be easily taken away. You can lose them easily, and then if you lose them, you experience a lot of pain and suffering, depending on how strong the attachment is. And even if it stays around, an example Michael Sayer gives is a car. You've got this new car, it's awesome, you take friends for a ride, whatever, but how quickly do you just get used to it? It's just your car, and it's not giving you the high that I did once. It's that kind of happiness is not something that sticks around. That's, you're filling a hole in yourself. All the stuff that you hold on to, externally especially, is stuff that you're filling an emotional hole from. So a good example of that is relationships, attachment to a relationship. Now you're going to hate me because this is so not romantic, but it's true, and when accepted, it allows for greater freedom and allows for you to be a more whole person. Relationships are often seen as something that you need for emotional survival, and it makes us put a lot of emotional weight on them. The thing is, it's not even that it's an attachment to just the person. We like the person, we love the person, whatever. But what we're attached to is the way they make us feel. And most times, the way that, especially a romantic relationship, makes you feel, what it's doing for you, or any relationship, what it's doing for you is filling in an emotional hole. So we've got these blockages, these places where energy doesn't flow. And our relationships with people, sometimes we can take their energy and fill that space so energy flows better and we feel better. Problem there is that person is not always going to, not only are they not always going to be there, but they're not always going to provide the things that we need from them. One day they're angry and you don't feel love that you felt, and now it's, you know, it causes a lot of pain, and it makes you question things. You know, it's these emotional needs that we have, validations, love. A lot of times it's just a distraction from our own internal struggles. Like, I don't want to think this, I don't want to feel this. Let me go over here and be involved with this person and put my emotion into them, my energy into them, so I don't have to think about the shit that's going wrong in my life. And this can make relationships feel like they're lifelines. But they cause so much stress when we put that kind of weight on them. Michael Singer goes into this quite a bit, and it's so true. But in a lot of romantic relationships, one partner might feel incomplete without the other, because the relationship, these relationships are not going to be inherently fulfilling, because a lot of times you're with the person because of feelings of loneliness, inadequacy. You don't love yourself, and this person loves you, so it fills a place in you that didn't have energy, that you couldn't access on your own. And that feels great. But what that means is that you're not a whole person. And what you're doing is you're just using that person as a crutch. So you're using them to avoid these feelings of loneliness, these feelings of inadequacy, whatever the case may be. You're using this person. It's not really that, I know it sounds terrible, but it's not that you love them and you'll be miserable without them because you're in love with them. It's because they do something for you. They fill an emotional need. So it's not really about them, is it? It's about you and the things that you feel you lack. Your insecurities, your emotional holes, places in your emotional life that you feel are missing, places where you're broken. So this isn't about love. It's about avoidance of emotional pain. And it was disappointing to learn this, but it's not love. You're not in this relationship because you love the person. You're avoiding the pain of them not being there and doing for you what you want them to do for you. Whereas when you let go of that kind of attachment and heal those holes on yourself, those parts of your psyche, that's parts of your emotional life and your soul that are broken, when you become whole unto yourself, then the relationship is about love. Because it's not about getting what you need from the person. It's about being with this person because you love them and they enhance your life. And when you do that, there's no codependency. There's no problem. I mean, there's always going to be problems, but, there's no dysfunction. Because you are whole unto yourself, and you can appreciate the other person for who and what they are, rather than whether or not they fill your needs. I know, it's not romantic, but it's actually better for you. When you are whole unto yourself, and you're not looking to that person for love and connection, because you need that to feel whole, to not feel lonely, to not just to enhance your life, but to bring your life meaning. If you don't have meaning on your own, you're kind of screwed. Like, what if this person goes away? But when you're whole, these relationships become, it's allowing these relationships to enhance your life rather than defining it. Your need for it. When you release the need for someone to complete you, you complete me. Such a romantic line, but except it's not. Except it's not about the other person at all. And it's just about you and the fact that you're not complete. you open up for a space for a healthier, balanced relationship that's based on mutual growth rather than dependency. What do you think about them apples? This is the reason, the main reason that I have not re-engaged myself in a romantic relationship, because I want to be whole unto myself before I get myself into another relationship, so that it is actually about love and I'm not dependent on that person, and that I can be happy with if they're there or if they're not there, you know, and I can be happy no matter what the circumstances. When you let go of attachments to external circumstances, you can be happy no matter what the circumstance. I mean, there are extreme examples that we're not going to go into, but on the whole, the way you live life in general, you let go of external attachments, you can be happy regardless whether or not whether this external circumstances are what you want or don't want. Then there are our societal expectations and social image things that we are attached to, which are also very big deals. These expectations, we spoke about this a little bit, they're ingrained in you as kids, right? From a very young age, from like birth. We attach to these ideas, especially like around success, and what success looks like. Whether it could be career achievements, it could be physical appearance, that's one for me, material wealth, the fear of judgment or failure to meet these expectations drives many of our decisions and our feelings, and it often leads us down paths that don't align with who we are, with the things that we love, with our purpose, with our mission, with our passions. We put those aside in favor of something someone else tells us is important, which is not a really good way to live your life. A lot of times people will push themselves up a corporate ladder, believing that it's the only way to be successful. But they might be a creative person who needs a different outlet, and or anything else. If you're not pursuing what you love, it's not going to be fulfilling, or something that has a deeper meaning for you. It won't be fulfilling. These societal expectations and social images are never going to provide fulfillment. For example, I have a friend. I was just talking to her the other day, and she's been talking about she's got a career that she's been doing pretty well in. She's been at it for. She said to herself, "Okay, I'll do this for 5 years." She's been in a situation for 10, and she has this opportunity to take a few classes to get scholarships to these classes where she would get these certifications, which would lead to greater, position and money. But she doesn't like what she's doing. Like, if they weren't free, she would never want to do them. But she feels bad because it's like throwing away money in her eyes. And I told her, I was like, it's like getting a coupon for like 100 hot dogs, but you don't eat hot dogs. It doesn't matter that it's a coupon for 100 hot dogs. You're not going to eat the hot dogs, so why spend the time, spending the time doing these certificate courses is just going to pull you further away from where you want to be and what you want to do and what's going to make you happy. I get that, okay, society is going to tell you, you got this for free, you should do this. It's a career that will get you more money. But that's not what she wants to do. She wants to do something that's much more true to who she is and what's going to fulfill her. It's more holistic healing kind of stuff. And that's where she feels her calling is. But if she does this other thing, she's going to get further away from it. But the thing is, if that's what her passion is and that is where her purpose lies, who gives a fuck if you have these free courses to do something you don't want to do? Excuse me. And I'm really glad, because it sounds like she's going to, put those aside and actually go for what it is she wants, despite the difficulties that are going to come from it. But that's going to lead her to doing the things that she loves and the things that give her life meaning. Who cares what you get if it doesn't give your life meaning? You know, you can have the whole world and it doesn't fulfill you, whereas you can have one little thing and it does fulfill you. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to be made to feel better than she sees people that she's able to help through doing the thing that she loves. Who wouldn't want that? But the thing about this is that letting go of these societal expectations surrounding success does not mean you can't be a success. It's redefining what success looks like for you. And it doesn't mean that you can't have material possessions. It doesn't mean that you can't have material wealth. It does not mean any of it. It just means that when you release these attachments, your entire life opens up so you can pursue goals and values that resonate with who you really are and not what society tells you you should be. And you can make, it's actually a better way of making money, because when you resonate with things, when you realize your gifts are in this area and you're like, only I can do this, only I can really fulfill this purpose, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with all my heart, money comes from that. Your needs are filled. So, external validation, because that's what we're kind of looking for when we cling to these societal expectations. We desire to be seen, to be loved and appreciated. It's so true, and I do. You know what I mean? But the problem is when we attach our self-worth to it. It's when we see ourselves as worthy only when other people perceive us as worthy, we become slaves to their approval. We work for their approval, and a lot of times to no end, because a lot of people are just going to see things what they want to see and feel things they want to feel. And it just stresses you out trying to be this person that this other person, you think this other person wants you to be, rather than being who you are. It's not good. These are insidious attachments, because they can temporarily boost your self-esteem, but it's like a drug. I've been in several relationships. I'm thinking of one in particular. I didn't even like the guy, really. Like, I really didn't. But for some reason, I got hooked on this idea of being loved by this person in my mind. If this person couldn't love me, then no one would be, like, I'm so horrible that no one's gonna love me, and this person, and it is like a drug. I get the approval one day, and then he's a dick for like 2 months, and it feels like shit. It feels like so bad. And then when as you're about to leave, they sense it, and they oh, I'm so sorry, I won't do that again, blah 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 blah, and they convince you that they're sorry and that they're actually a good person, and then things are going to change. And as soon as they see they've gotten you on the hook again, they go back to being a douchebag. And that's an addiction. It's an addiction. We get addicted to these sorts of relationships, to this sort of validation, because it gives you this high that you keep wanting more of and wanting more of. So you work harder and harder and allow shit to happen to you, for other people to do stuff to you that no one needs to allow. And that makes you feel like crap and makes you hate yourself more. It's a terrible thing to do. You might, I experienced such anxiety in this relationship, and I acted so contrary to what I would think, I normally think of as my character, my identity. I acted, there was something, I'm like, what did I just do? And it's still a source of like, I can't believe I did that. Like, judgment, self-judgment. Still, I'm working on that, but it's there, and it's something that I am letting go of. And yeah, letting go of the need for that sort of validation frees us to be ourselves, frees us to do the things that to work within our own value system. When you stop, it's a roller coaster, right? Like someone approves you great, and then all of a sudden you do something or something happens where you think their opinion of you goes down and your self-esteem tanks, and then up it goes, and you keep running around like an addict trying to get your fix. And when you stop seeking that kind of validation, find it in yourself, just like with the relationship thing. When you cultivate your own confidence and self-love, then you don't need external validation. And this frees you up emotionally and makes you more emotionally stable, because your worth is not dictated by other people's opinions, which are something you can't control. Which brings us to control. We are attached to the idea of control in external circumstances, which is crazy because we can't control external circumstances. There's a modicum of things we can do to influence what's going on around us, but we're afraid of the uncertainty of the environment, about the world, because we can't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the things that we don't know. And that shit's happening all over. There's so much more that is happening that we don't know of than the stuff that we do. And that can all have, it's like the butterfly effect, like it can all, there's a ripple effect that comes into your life and affects things that you, in ways that you never even saw coming. You can't predict what's going to happen. And again, we've talked about this before, but if you live your life thinking that things on the outside have to be what you want them to be on the inside, then you in order to be happy, you are never going to be happy. You're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for, this is like the condition we're putting on our lives for happiness. We can't control anything but ourselves. And while we want to protect ourselves from discomfort or suffering that the external events might cause, the illusion of control it's a false sense of security, and it will lead to frustration and disappointment and fear and anxiety and suffering and whatever else, because life is unpredictable and we can't control everything. And this can go, we can plan all we want for things to go certain ways, and we can do what we can to make them that way, but we're not going to be successful most of the time. So if you can detach from the attachment to control, it doesn't mean that you're passive and just accept life's unpredictability as, and do nothing about it. And you just say, okay, this is just life. I can't do anything about it. Which we'll get into later, because I just said you can't do anything about it. But you can. It just has to do with inside. The more you accept the uncertainty, the less stress you're going to feel when things don't go your way. And it will give you greater freedom and room to be adaptable and to respond to the situation rather than react from the fact of the emotions that are caused because it's not the way you want it to be. It's not like Michael Singer at one point gives the example of someone bleeding, right? Like if someone in front of you is bleeding and you can't accept that they're bleeding, and you freak out and you're like, this isn't the way I want it to be, or this isn't the way it should be, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. The first thing you have to do in a situation like that is accept that that's what's happening, and then you can do something about it. And you do something, and whatever it is you're going to do is going to be more useful because you're doing it from a calm place where you can think rather than flipping out and running around and making the situation more stressful for everyone involved, and then probably not really doing a great job of solving the problem because you're more focused on what's happening to you inside. And the reason, again, it's like the relationship thing. You're reacting the way that you're reacting not to help the situation, but to make yourself feel better. And when you're doing that, you're not helping the situation. The only way to actually help a situation and be able to handle it like in the best way possible is to accept that it's happening and approach it from there. Like, okay, that's what's happening. And I'm okay with it in the sense of it's happening and that's what's happening, you know? And then I can go and do what I can to make the situation better from that mindset. It just allows you to adapt and respond rather than react, right? So, oh my goodness, we're going so long. Okay. So one thing to think about is that external attachments, they mirror what's going on inside, what your desires are and what your fears are. So for every external attachment we have, it corresponds to an internal state. Whether it's a desire for love, a fear of inadequacy, the need for approval, external attachments reflect what's going on inside of us, and that's where we have to work. Because we work there, then those external attachments become unnecessary, and we can more easily let them go. When we look at what we're attached to externally, we can gain insight into what's going on internally, into what we're holding on to. What is it that's making me so attached to this thing over here? What does it do for me? What holes does it fill? What emotional needs does it satisfy inside of me? Okay, let's look at those. How do I fix those? How do I let go of those? And then the shit on the outside doesn't matter as much. It matters, but it's in a different way. And you can deal with it better. You have more freedom. You are dealing with what is actually reality. When we're doing that, we can find the fear, the insecurity, the unresolved emotional pain. That's what we can then let go of. Let's say someone is. Can I think of a good example from my life? We'll go back to the whole men debacle that has been my romantic relationship life thus far. Whether or not the person is great or shitty, or the relationship is great or shitty, the fact of the matter is, I have gone into relationships to get not only external validation, but to fill these emotional wounds that are inside of me. The thing is, though, wouldn't it just be better if I hone in on those emotional wounds, I work at the root of them, and I let those go so I don't need those things? So that attachment to this pattern I have of choosing people who cannot possibly give me the love I want in return, which goes back to childhood and your first relation, the lady's first relationship with a man is with her father. And as much as I love my dad, that's a whole thing. Like so many people, I have a lot of daddy issues, and those are deeply, deeply ingrained, and they show up in my life as these attachments to men who cannot return the love that I want. And honestly, I end up dating men who I don't love. As a safety net, But when I go through and I look at myself, I'm like, oh, that's what I'm trying to fix with all of this. Well, let's fix that, and all of this won't happen anymore. So when we do that, and we address the root cause, you can release both the external attachment and the suffering that it creates. and the internal attachment. Which, when you think about it, all attachments are actually internal in the sense of they're all happening inside. But letting go of this external stuff can feel like a loss. It could be a possession, it could be a relationship, societal approval, success. But however, it's letting go opens up a space for greater peace and freedom and authenticity, the freedom to be yourself, to pursue your purpose and your passions so that you can be fulfilled rather than trying to fulfill different expectations, someone else's expectations. Something I heard today that was interesting is like, it was in terms of goals, but like when you are being realistic with your goals, that's someone else's reality that you're trying to fulfill. You want to fulfill your reality, your desires, the things that are going to make you joyful, that are going to fulfill you. When you let go of all that shit, that's what you can pursue and not feel bad about it, and do it with your whole heart, rather than, even if you let go of that stuff and you're still holding on to it and you feel like you should be doing this over here, but you're going to do this because it's what I love, but you're never going to actually put yourself into that. Like, really dive into it if you're still attached to those other things. Ultimately, what it means to let go of these external things, and what it means to let go, is that you gain the ability to be okay no matter what is going on in your life, whatever the universe throws your way. It's about discovering that your true source of happiness and stability lies inside. Happiness is an inside job, right? Rather than in external factors. And once you realize this, life is less about controlling or holding on to things on the outside, and it's more about experiencing and flowing with what is. And when you flow with what is, you wind up in the right place rather than, fighting the rising tide. And that is today's video, which is even longer. But I'm not going to attach the success of these videos to the length. So I'm just going to wind things up and just say, even if you're clinging on to shit that's outside of your control, and most things are, you can always choose to have a grateful day.